this chapter, we want to record the terms and components of incident response, summarize the components of business continuity plan, then identify the components of disaster recovery. So let's now dive into incident response as a whole. So incident terminology. Why security professionals strive to protect systems from malicious attacks or human carelessness, inevitably, despite best effort, things go wrong. No matter how security, control you put in place or countermeasure or safeguard, things will always go wrong. Maybe by mistake, or by disgruntled employees, or by outdated operating system or software. Something somewhere will always go wrong. So for this reason, another role that security professionals play is that of first responder, which we also known as SOC level 1 analyst. So an understanding of incident response starts with knowing the terms used to describe various cyber attacks. So let's take them one after the other. The first one is breach. So breach is the loss of control, compromise, unauthorized disclosure, unauthorized acquisition, or any similar occurrence where a person other than an authorized user accesses or potentially accesses personally identifiable information, or an authorized user access personally identifiable information for other than an authorized purpose. So basically what they are saying is that breach occurs when an unauthorized entity gets hold of your information, or they use that information in a way that is not specified. Do you get? So an unauthorized individual getting foothold in your network is known as breach. So they breach the confidentiality of that your information. Then we have an event. So it's any observable occurrence in a network or system. So the event is that maybe you are seeing some artifact, you are seeing some alerts that it's possible that someone is trying to actually break into your network. You are seeing like a notification that someone wants to kind of like log into your Gmail. So you are seeing some code that input this code. Meanwhile, you are not the one. So that's just an event. It has not occurred, but it's on the process. They are trying to actually break into the network, but it has not yet occurred. So that's what we call events. Or exploits. So it's a particular attack. So it is so named because this attack exploits system vulnerabilities. So in case of exploits, that means the person has gotten a foothold in your network. They are in your network already. They've cracked into your network. Get? So that's an exploit. So then we have an incident. So incident is an event that actually or potentially jeopardizes the confidentiality, integrity, or availability of an information system, or the information of the system processes, stores, or transmits. So that's an incident. Then we have an intrusion. Intrusion is a security event or combination of events that constitutes a deliberate security incident in which an intruder gains or attempts to gain access to a system or system resources without authorization. So they are intruder. I think it's like that. They don't actually have the authorized access to your network, but they are trying to actually break into the network. So those people are called intruder. So then we have threats. So threat is any circumstance or event with the potential to adversely, that means negatively, impact organizational operation, including its mission, functions, image or reputation, asset, individual, partner, organization, or nation through an information system via unauthorized access, destruction, disclosure, modification of information, and or denial of service. So that's threat. So let me just break it down. So threat is simply a potential danger to an asset. Like it's a danger to an asset. Like a threat actor. It's a potential danger to your assets. Right? So that's threat. So it's potential danger to an asset. Then we have vulnerability. So vulnerability is a weakness in a system or in an information system, system security procedure, internal control, or implementation that could be exploited by a threat source or threat actor. That's a vulnerability. It's a loophole or weakness in your system that can be exploited by a threat actor or a threat source. That's the. Then we have 0-day. So it's a previously unknown system vulnerability with the potential of exploitation without risk of detection or prevention because it does not, in general, fit recognized patterns, signatures, or methods. So 0-day simply means that an attack that just occurred, it's new to all the vendors. They've not seen that kind of attack before. So there is no control in place to actually fight that type of attack. It's new. So they will always find their way into your system. Because even all the control you have in place in your organization, they don't have that kind of signature that if you see this pattern, that means it's surely an abnormal attack. They've not seen it before. So it's new to all those systems, all those countermeasures. So they will not be able to fight it. So they will always find their way into your network. That's 0-day. It has not been seen before. It's unknown to the network. So they are the most dangerous type of attack you want to encounter because there is no defense mechanism in place for them. So then we have the goal of incident response. What are the goals of incident response? So every organization must be prepared for incidents, like we said. Despite the best efforts of an organization's management and security teams to avoid or prevent problems, it is inevitable that adverse events or negative events will happen that have the potential to affect the business mission or objectives. It will always occur. Do we try? It's not that you will not try, but that doesn't guarantee you 100% security. They will always find their way into your network if they really want to. So the priority of any incident response is to protect life, health, and safety. So when any decision related to priorities is to be made, always choose safety of people first. So you will go for people first before any equipment or technical part of what you are trying to say. So that's the priority. Choose safety of people first. So the primary goal of incident management is to be prepared. That's the primary goal. That be prepared that anything can happen anytime. So if they happen, what are we going to do? So preparation requires having a policy and a response plan that will lead the organization through the crisis. That's okay. If they breach your server, this is what you will do. The first thing to do is this. Then the second thing to do is this. Then you will mitigate. Then you will eradicate. Then you will contain and stuff like that. You follow those processes and you'll be fine. So some organizations use the term crisis management to describe this process. So an event is any memorable occurrence, and most events are harmless. However, if the event has the potential to disrupt the business mission, then it is called an incident. So every organization must have an incident response plan that will help preserve business viability and survival. Because that's the reason why you want to actually have the plan in place or before that. Okay, if any unexpected incident occur, what are we going to do to actually fight it? So the incident response process is aimed at reducing the impact of an incident so the organization can resume the interrupted operation as soon as possible. Note that incident response planning is a subset of the greater discipline of business continuity management, which we will cover shortly. Then we have components of the incident response. Your incident response policy should reference an incident response plan that all employees will follow based on their role in the process. This is what the network department will follow. This is what the finance department will follow. This is what the accounts department will follow. This is what the CEO will follow. So all of those things will have been predefined in the plan. So the plan may contain several procedures and standards related to incident response. So it is a living representation of an organization incident response policy. The organization's vision, strategy, and mission should shape the incident response processes. Procedures to implement the plan should define the technical processes, techniques to actually carry out the checklists, and other tools that team will use when responding to an incident. So these are the components of incident response plan. The first one is preparation. You always want to prepare that anything can go wrong anytime. So, and these are the things under preparation. First thing is to develop a policy approved by the management. Like we said, yes, even if you come up with a policy, management still have to approve because they are the management. They will tell you what to do. The second thing under preparation is identify critical data and systems, single point of failure too. You want to know, okay, which of these assets are critical and which is not critical. Then you will find a critical asset and then you will prioritize those ones. You put controls in place to actually, fight any occurrence that is coming through them. You have to train staff on incident response too. So you have to train your staff that, okay, fine, if any incident, maybe by simulation, that, okay, if any incident occur, this is what you will do, this is what you will follow, this is how you will go about it. Also, you want to implement an incident response team, which is covered in subsequent topic, because you still have to have incident response team in place too, because those are the people that fight the attack when it occurs. So also you want to practice incident identification, which is the first response. Because some incidents, they are kind of like false positive. They are not really an incident or event that you should waste your time on, right? So you want to kind of like know which one is false positive, which one is, false negative, and like that. So also you want to plan the coordination of communication between stakeholders. You always want to tell them that, okay, if any incident occurs, this is what you would do. Do this your own rules in this, incident response and stuff like that. Also, you want to consider the possibility that a primary method of communication may not be available. So each department, like maybe head of department, like head of finance, you must have his contact. You must have everybody inside this incident response plan. You must have their contact because most of the time, maybe they are not available. And an incident occur when they are not available. You want to communicate with them. That's okay. Yeah, don't boss to come to the office. So, and you have to consider that contact that you collected, the first one may not be available. So you want maybe their other line or another means to actually get to them if their first contact is not available. Then the second component is detection and analysis. So this is where you want to monitor all possible attack vectors. So basically, attack vectors are the way that an attack can come in. Ways that an attacker can actually come into your network. So those are what we call an attack vectors. So you want to monitor all those possible places. Also, you want to analyze incidents using known data and threat intelligence. So basically, if you have a firewall in this room, basically what they did is that they actually, collected all the incidents that have occurred in the past. And they will tell the firewall that if you see any incident like this, it is 100% an intrusion, block it. don't allow it into our network. So basically, you want to analyze incidents using known data and threat intelligence. So basically, threat intelligence is collecting all the evidence or artifacts that's related to one particular attack that your control mechanism can actually see and kind of like compare and be like, okay, this is an attack, so I will fight this. Because based on the signature that the countermeasure is seeing, it's related to an incident that has occurred in the past. So it will block it, it will not allow it to come to your network. Also, you want to prioritize incident response when an event occurs. So also the last one is standardized incident documentation. So you want to tell all the staffs that this is the final incident response that everybody must follow in the organization. Then the third one of the component is what we call containment. So containment is where you will gather evidence or artifacts about an intrusion. Also, it's where you will choose an appropriate containment strategy. So maybe you want to, finally mitigate it, or you want to kind of like isolate the incident. You don't want it to move past the department or past the network. So that's basically containment. So you want to identify the source of the event. Where is the event coming from? So it's turn off your computer first. So you want to actually check out if the event is coming from within your organization or from an external person. So also you want to isolate the source. Okay, this is the IP that is causing the problem. Then you take that IP, you put it in your firewall that anytime this IP is coming to our network, block it, don't let it come in. So then we have post-incident activity. So this is where you identify evidence that may need to be retained. And also you will document lesson learned. Okay, this is what happened during the process, this is what caused the attack. This person mistakenly, visits an unsecure website, and through that place, they actually get hold of our network. So then you will prepare your staffs again. You will teach them that next time we don't go to such websites and stuff like that. So this is the retrospect. So the first one is preparation. Second one is detection and analysis. The third one is containment, eradication, and recovery. And the last one is post-incident activity. So this is the diagram. From preparation to detection and analysis, to containment, eradication and recovery, then post-incident. So now consulting with management. The first part of preparation is identifying the critical information that needs protection and avoiding any single point of failure. Like we said, we explained that. This means that if something is particularly important, we create multiple layers of protection, which we also know as defense in depth. You don't want to use single control in place. You want to use multiple. That even if an attacker is able to actually break into one, they still have the second one to fight, they still have the third one to fight, they still have the fourth one to fight before eventually actually getting to your database. So that's multiple layer of security or defense in depth. So we create multiple layers of protection are needed to reduce the likelihood of a successful attack. So we talk more later about the principle of defense in depth. But like a fortress, the more layers of defense are present, the more difficult it will be for attackers who are trying to break through. So it's like using a single factor of authentication and using a multiple factor of authentication. If you use a single factor of authentication, it is easier for an attacker to actually break into your accounts because there's nothing to actually back you up. But if you use multiple, even after the breaking, they still have to actually input some PIN that is sent to your email or your SMS, which most of the time it will be very difficult for them to get, except they lure you into revealing that code to them, which we know as phishing. You still get there later in the course. So it is important to train staff in incident response so that everyone knows what to do when an incident occurs. So training can include simulation and scenarios so teams can practice their response and learn to coordinate communication among the different stakeholders of the organization. So you can just come up with one simulation and tell them that, okay, if you see this kind of attack, if it's a SQL injection attack, this is what you are going to do, this is what you are going to do. So you check the database and stuff like that. Just a simulation, it does not really occur, right? So you are just trying to show them that if this kind of event occur, this is what you are going to do. So stakeholders may include colleagues, management, information owners, and customers. So you need to consider what types of communication will be available because you cannot communicate the same information to everyone. So the information that you are going to actually reveal to your colleagues is not the same information that you want to actually tell news people. That this is what happened, our core critical, asset is our router. And this, they actually, exploit this, our IP. You are revealing a lot of information to the news people already. They don't need to actually, get to know the technical part of what is really going on. You are breach, and that's it for them. But you actually want to go down, like go deep for the management, what really happened, what the assets they really had, how they hack the assets, the IP, that they kind of like steal before they log into your account and stuff like that. So you don't want to actually reveal the same level of information to everyone. For example, some material will be confidential, some will be useful only to certain people, and likely only a limited subset of information should be made available to external stakeholders or the media. When it comes to detection and analysis, which is the second part of the components, you need to monitor the attack vectors. Like we said, attack vectors, they are the source or the ways that an attacker used to actually come into your network, that they used to hack you. It can be through your IP address, your MAC address, and stuff like that. So how the attack was made and what technology was used. So it is important to standardize the incident documentation because in a group of people, each will have their own idea of how to record activity and procedures. So to maintain consistency within the organization and to meet your responsibilities to data owner, you need to have a standardized incident response where each person knows exactly what needs to be done and in what sequence they need to carry it out. So this makes it easier to prioritize the response because each person has their own task and knows how to take care of their own responsibilities and then communicate appropriately with other concerned. Next, you need to find the appropriate containment strategy, identify the attackers and how they penetrated your defenses, and isolate the attack, making sure it does not go any further or do additional damage, right? So if an attack is occurring in a finance department, you don't want the attacker to actually pivot beyond the finance department. So you want to curb the attack within the finance department. You don't want to go to the network department or to other departments. So basically that's isolation. You just want to limit it to where the attack is taking place and nothing else, and not beyond that place. So after the incident, you must identify evidence that needs to be retained. Often, there will be an internal audit of what occurred. An external investigation also may be required, especially in the case of major cyber attack where law enforcement is involved. So they will come to your organization and they will do some forensics, to actually know what really happened if your staff cannot actually do it. So lessons learned must be documented. This supports effort to learn and constantly improve preparation and detection analysis. Often, most incident activity are subject to regulatory requirements, as certain documentation must be submitted. This is especially important if the compromised critical information is protected by law most of the time. Now let's talk about incident response team. Most of the time, they are what we call SOC analysts, which is Security Operations Center. So along with the organizational need to establish Security Operations Center, so Security Operations Center is a centralized organizational function fulfilled by an information security team that monitors, detects, and analyzes events on the network or system to prevent and resolve issues before they result in business disruption. So they will be the one monitoring your network, analyzing any abnormal, traffic within your network. And if they see that it is abnormal, they will be the one to actually fight it first. They are the first responder. So they will attack it, they will fight it, they will try to fight it first before now passing it to, more technical people if they cannot actually fight it eventually. So it's the need to create a suitable incident response team. A properly staffed and trained incident response team can be leveraged, dedicated, or a combination of the two, depending on the organizational requirements. Many IT professionals are classified as first responders for incidents. They are the first ones on the scene and know how to differentiate typical IT problems from security incidents. They are like medical first responders who have the skills and knowledge to provide medical assistance at the accident scenes and help get the patient to medical facility when necessary. So the medical first responders have specific training to help them determine the difference between minor and major injuries. The same thing is going to actually occur or happen to SOC analysts. So we try to actually find out if it's a false alarm or a true alarm. So they are like, okay, the medical first responder have specific training. Okay. Further, they know what to do when they come across a major injury. Similarly, IT professionals need specific training so that they can determine the difference between a typical problem that needs troubleshooting and a security incident that needs to report and address. So a typical incident response team is a cross-functional group of individuals who represent the management, technical and functional area of responsibility, most directly impacted by security incidents. So potential team members include the following. These are the teams that are going to be under incident response. We have representative or representatives of senior management. So those are the people that will be talking, for senior management. Also, we have information security professionals. We have legal representatives. We have public affairs and communication representatives. Then we have engineering representatives, which can be system engineering or network engineering. So team members should have training in incident response and the organization incident response plan. All of these teams, they must actually know their roles, what to play if an incident occurs. So typically, team members assist in investigating the incident, assessing the damage, collecting evidence, reporting the incident, and initiating recovery procedures. Most also participate in the remediation and lessons learned stages and help with root cause analysis. So many organizations now have a dedicated team responsible for investigating any computer security incident. These teams are commonly known as computer incident response team. Or computer security incident response team. So when an incident occurs, the response team has 4 primary responsibilities. The first one is that they determine the amount and scope of damage caused by the incident. So they will be the one to tell you that, okay, this is what they actually get hold of. This is what they exfiltrate for your company. This is the server that is being ringed and stuff like that. So they will determine the amount and scope of damage caused by the incident. Also, they will determine whether any confidential information was compromised during the incident. So they will implement any necessary recovery procedure to restore security and recover from incident-related damage. Also, they will be the one to supervise the implementation of any additional security measure necessary to improve security and prevent recurrence of the incident. So they will now be the one to tell you that, okay, we need an IDS, IPS here, which is intrusion detection system or intrusion prevention system in the organization, or we need, a new firewall at the perimeter of the network, or we need other kind of tools that actually needs to be in place so that this kind of attack will not occur anymore. They will be the ones to make that decision. So now, business continuity. The importance of business continuity. The intent of a business continuity plan is to sustain business operation while recovering from a significant disruption. When an incident occurs, you don't want your business to actually, shut down, or you don't want to actually perform any activity again. So you still want to be running your business while trying to actually fight the attack. So this can be maybe, like I said, maybe you go to another center, which we called like a hot site. Remove your clients or your staffs from your primary center to where they can actually use other resources while trying to actually fight the occurrence that is going on in this place. So during that process, the business will still continue, right? You don't want your business to be shut down because of an incident. So an event has created a disturbance, and now you need to know how to maintain the business. A key part of the plan is communication, including multiple contact methodologies and backup numbers in case of a disruption of power or communication. You want to know people to call and their second number to actually call if the primary doesn't go through. Many organizations will establish a phone tree so that if one person is not available, they know who else to call. So organization will go through their procedures and checklists to make sure they know exactly who's responsible for which action. No matter how many times they have flan, without fail, pilots go through a checklist before takeover or takeoff. Similarly, a plan must include established procedure and a thorough checklist so that no vital element of business continuity will be missed. So you still want to go through your business continuity plan all the time before the incident even occur, so that you will make sure, or you'll be assured that you are not missing anything out. So when an event occurs, you will contact the appropriate individuals and start to activate the business continuity plan. So management must be included because sometimes priority may be changed depending on the situation. Individuals with proper authority must be there to execute operations. For instance, if critical areas must be shut down, then technical people will be the ones to actually do that. Don't want anybody to go and shut down your server or your database. It can actually cause more problem for you. So you need to have at hand the critical contact numbers for your supply chain. That's people providing maybe your server, your anything in the organization. You still want to have their own contact too, as well as law enforcement and other sites outside your facility. For example, a hospital may suffer a severe cyber attack that affects communication from the pharmacy. The internet of phone lines, I mean. So in the US, if a cyber attack knocks out communication, specific numbers in specific networks can bypass the normal cell phone services and use military-grade networks. That means they will still communicate, even if anybody or everyone else cannot communicate. There's still a way to actually go about it, to actually make communication. So those will be assigned to authorized individuals for hospitals or critical infrastructure in case of a major disruption or cyber attack. That's like their backup. If the primary, normal communication is off, then they have a backup. So they can still maintain essential activity. So this is the goal of business continuity. So, like I said, business continuity refers to enabling critical aspects of the organization to function, perhaps at a reduced capacity during a disruption caused by any form of disturbance, attack, infrastructure failure, or natural disaster. Most incidents are minor and can be handled easily with minimal impact. A system requiring a rebuild, for example, but after a few minutes, the system is back in operation and the incident is over. But sometimes, a major incident will interrupt business for an unacceptable length of time. And the organization cannot just follow an incident plan, but must move toward business continuity. Maybe they will just, spin up another server or another system and leave that one that is, trying to come up. So business continuity includes planning, preparation, response, and recovery operations. But it does not generally include activities to support full restoration of all business activity and services. It focuses on the critical products and services that the organization provides and ensure those important areas can continue to operate even at a reduced level of performance until business returns to normal. That's the goal. Even if there is an incident, we still want to kind of like continue doing our business. So developing a business continuity plan requires a significant organizational commitment in terms of both personnel and financial resources. To gain this commitment, organization now support for business continuity planning efforts must be provided by executive management or an executive sponsor. Without the proper support, business continuity planning efforts have little chance of success. You still want the top management to be involved. If they are not, the probability that you will be able to curb the incident is very slim. So, and these are the components of business continuity plan. So the first one is list of the business continuity plan team members, like we did at the first one. So including multiple contact methods and backup members. Immediate response procedure and checklist, which can be security and safety procedure, fire suppression procedures, notification of appropriate emergency response agencies, and co. So then we have notification system and call trees for alerting personnel that the business continuity plan is being enacted. So we want to have their contacts at hand. So guidance for management, including designation of authority for specific managers, because they have their own roles to actually play during this process. So also, we have how and when to enact the plan. When are we going to actually take out our business continuity plan? That would be when the incident response plan fails. Then we can now go to business continuity. So contact numbers for critical members of the supply chain. For example, your vendors, your customers, possible external emergency providers, or third-party partners. All of those who want to have their contact in place. So we have business continuity in the workplace. The business continuity plan needs to be maintained somewhere where it can be accessed. Often, in modern organizations, everything is digital and not provided as hard copy. This can be dangerous, just like storing everything within a single office location. It's like you storing your business continuity plan in the server, and inside this server, they hack the server too. So how do you want to bring out the business continuity plan when they've actually hacked, where you actually store the business continuity plan? So some organizations have what is called the Red Book, which is given to an appropriate individual outside the facility. So all the procedures are outlined in that document. In case, for example, a hurricane hits, the power is out, all the facilities are compromised, and there is no access to electronic backups, like I said. So it is important to update this hard copy Red Book anytime the electronic copy is updated. So both versions remain consistent. So you have it on your system, and also you want to have the hard copy. But the hard copy will not be within the organization. Maybe the CEO will give his best friend, or they keep it in bank in case anything goes wrong, until they are not able to actually have access to the one in the server. So then they cannot use the book. So then we have business continuity in action. So what does business continuity look like in action? Imagine that a company's business department suffered a complete loss in a fire. The fire occurred overnight, so no personnel were in the building. A business impact analysis was performed 4 months ago and identified Benin department function as very important to the company, but not immediately affecting other areas of work. Through a previously signed agreement, the company has an alternative site at which the Benin department can work, and it can be available in less than 1 week. Until that site is fully ready, customer Benin inquiries will be answered by customer service staff. The Benin department personnel will remain in the alternate working site until a new permanent site is available. So they will go to the alternative site while trying to actually put their primary site, up again. So in this scenario, the business impact analysis has already identified the dependencies of customer Benin inquiries and revenue. Because the company has ample cash reserves, a week without Benin is acceptable during the interruption to normal business. Replanning was realized by having an alternate work site ready for the personnel and having a customer service team handle the Benin department calls during the transition to temporary office space. With the execution of the plan, there was no material interruption to the company's business or ability to provide services to its customer because of the backup. So this constitutes the successful implementation of a business continuity plan, because even when they have issue at their primary sites, they can still, move on at their backup sites. So basically, that's what we are talking about, business continuity plan. If you have issue, you still have some things in place to actually carry out your activity. So then the last one, which is disaster recovery. So the goal of disaster recovery. So in the business continuity module, the essential elements of business continuity planning were explored. So disaster recovery planning steps in where business continuity lives off. So the incident response plan is failed and the business continuity plan is failed, then you want to come to this disaster recovery plan. So when a disaster strikes or an interruption of business activities occurs, the disaster recovery plan guides the action of your emergency response team until the end goal is reached, which is to see the business restored to full last known reliable operations. Disaster recovery refers specifically to restoring the information technology and communication services and system needed by an organization, both during the period of disruption and during the restoration of normal services. The recovery of a business function may be done independently of the recovery of IT and communication services. However, the recovery of IT is often crucial to the recovery of business operations, whereas business continuity planning is about maintaining critical business functions. Disaster recovery planning is about restoring IT and communications back to full operation after a disruption. So let's check disaster recovery in real world. So it must be made certain that an organization's critical systems are formally identified and have backups that are regularly tested. Even if you have a backup, you still want to kind of like spin it sometimes to check if they are intact or they are not, corrupted already. So sometimes an incident is not recognized or detected until days or months later. So this is the example. At the hospital in Los Angeles, it took 260 days, about 8.5 months, to discover that there was a compromise. In this case, the hospital could not return to doing business by using the last backup because it was riddled with a time-based malware that will corrupt all the data on the system as soon as it was restored. So when they spin it back up, it will still get corrupted. So the hospital needed to go back nearly a year to restore the entire system and then restore the remaining data piece by piece to avoid reinfection. This scenario highlights the need for multiple levels of backup and retention period to address organization needs. Complex systems or critical systems often store valuable information across several servers. While at its most basic level, disaster recovery plans include backing up data at a server level. It is also necessary to consider the database itself as well as any dependencies on other systems. In this more complex scenario, data is entered by users into one system and database and is then distributed to other systems. This is common in larger enterprises where multiple systems need to talk to each other to maintain common data. In another hospital example, the radiology department used a different system than the laboratory. So in this case, a separate routine copied the patient data from the registration system to the laboratory and radiology systems, which technically use separate databases. So it is important to understand the flow of data and the intricate dependencies of one system on another to properly document and implement a disaster recovery plan that will be successful when it is needed. So then let's talk about the components of disaster recovery. The first one is executive summary, providing a high-level overview of the plan. That's executive summary. Everything that has to be done is in there. So then we have department-specific plans. Finance department, this is what you have to do. Accounting department, this is what you have to do. Network department, this is what you have to do. So like that. So technical guide for IT personnel responsible for implementing and maintaining critical backup systems. Even when you are telling the finance department that this is what they need to do, you still have to put it in practice for them to see that, okay, this is what you click, this is how you go about it, so that, when the incident happens, they know what to do already. They are not asking questions then. Then you want full copies of the plan for critical disaster recovery team members. So let's check checklists for certain individuals. So critical disaster recovery team members, we have checklists to help guide their actions amid the chaotic atmosphere of the disaster. So IT personnel, we have technical guides to help them get alternate sites up and running. Also, managers and public relations personnel, we have simple to follow high-level documents to help them communicate the issue accurately without requiring input from team members who are busy working on recovery. So this is like the diagram to disaster recovery in action. So incident occurs, so it is undetected. So possibly compromised transaction and corrupted backups. Then incident detection. This is then we have recovery points objectives. So an example of disaster recovery in action is the use of system backups. The timeline in this image looks backward in time from the moment of incident detection on the right as a way of identifying the amount of work that will be lost by reloading from a backup. So transaction processing events, the triangles, and some backups events shown as database symbols. So this is the database symbols. Have been numbered as events 1 through 21 from left to right along the timeline. So the green transaction events 1 to 14, which is this, are ones that were fully processed prior to the intrusion or the start of the incident. Those backups are safe. 1 to 14. Then an incident has no occurred, so they are good. So presumably, and if antivirus and other systems are working correctly, this is a safe assumption. These transactions were not exposed to possible loss of integrity, authenticity, privacy, or any required security attributes. The database symbol shown in gray, event 2, 5, 9, and 13. 2, 5, 9, and 13. This all prior to the events represent some form of system and data backup that may have captured the changes to the system as a result of properly completing the green transaction. So it is event 15 to 21, this, however, that are in doubt. They may be okay, or they may represent a lack of integrity if the data was compromised. The database backup symbol in orange between the time of the incident occurrence and it's being detected are clearly in doubt as to their integrity or safety. They are not sure if they've been compromised or changed. So they may contain bogus, corrupted data, or they may even contain malware in a variety of forms. So moving backward in time. So moving backwards. Yeah. Moving backward in time of the incident, it's not until the rightmost grade database symbol, event 13, the backup just before the incident occurred, that there is a last clean trustworthy backup. So this is the last trustworthy backup, the 13. So when they are trying to actually restore the backup, so they are going to actually use this database, the server from this 13, because that's the last backup before the incident occurred. So when they are trying to kind of like spin up the server again, they will take the backup from this database, from this 13. So the graphic identified 3 sets of work that were lost since the incident started to occur. First one, all transactions or changes prior to that last good backup, which is the 13, that were not part of that backup. If it was an incremental or partial backup and not a full backup, which is event 15 to 17, 15. So these are the partial backups. All transactions and other changes processed or attempted from that backup forward in time months after the incident was detected, not when it starts to occur. Then all transactions, changes, etc., that would normally have been processed from the time the incident was detected until the system was fully operational again, but were not able to be processed at all due to the disruptions. So, like you said, they will still take the backup from this 13 when they are trying to actually restore their system, because that's the most safest backup in the company. So this is the chapter summary. So this chapter focused mainly on the availability aspects of the CIA triad, like we said, and the importance of maintaining availability of business operation. Because everything we've been talking about is that we want the business operation to be available, even at the face of disruption. So that's the availability part of the CIA triad. So maintaining business operations during or after an incident, event, breach, intrusion, exploit, or zero-day attack is accomplished through the implementation of incident response, business continuity, and or disaster recovery plans. While these plans may seem to overlap in scope, they are distinct and vital to the survival of any organization facing extraordinarily operating conditions. Here are the primary concepts to remember from this chapter. First, the incident response plan responds to abnormal operating conditions to keep the business operating. So the 4 main components of incident response are preparation, detection and analysis, containment, eradication and recovery, and post-incident activity. Incident response teams are typically a cross-functional group of individuals who represent the management, technical, and functional area of responsibility most directly impacted by security incidents. These teams are trained in incident response and the organization incident response plan. When an incident occurs, the team is responsible for the following. They will be the one to determine the amount and scope of damage and whether any confidential information was compromised. You will also be the one to implement recovery procedure to restore security and recover from incident-related damage, and also supervising the implementation of future measures to improve security and prevent recurrence of the incident. Then we talked about business continuity plan, which is designed to keep the organization operating through a crisis. So components of a business continuity plan include details about how and when to enact the plan, and notification systems and countries for alerting team members and organizational associates that the plan has been enacted. So in addition to this, it includes contact number for critical third-party partners like the vendors, your customers, external emergency provider, vendors, and customers. So the plan provides the team with immediate response procedure and checklist and guidance for management. Finally, if both the incident response and business continuity plan fail, the disaster recovery plan is activated to return operations to normal as quickly as possible. So that means you don't spin up disaster recovery if um, business continuity plan is okay or disaster recovery plan is okay. So disaster recovery plan may include the following components. Sorry. We have executive summary providing a high level overview of the plan, what the plan is all about, the scope, what you are going to do, stuff like that. Also, we have department specific plans. Like, okay, this department, this is what you are going to do, this is your own plan when the disaster occurs. Then we have technical guides for IT personnel responsible for implementing and maintaining critical backup systems. Also, full copies of the plan for critical disaster recovery team members. And the last one, checklist for certain individuals. So, chapter 2, please. So, the quiz. Now, it's my time to relax. Your own time too. So the first question. So people online, or finger on the keyboard. You are working in your organization security office. You receive a call from a user who has tried to log in to the network several times using the correct credential with no success. This is an example of what? Oh yeah, we've seen one answer, B. So people online, we are waiting for you to your answer. Anybody else? Like, you agree with B. B. Everybody, B. B. C. A. A. People online, so we have one answer. B. Mary. She said B. Any contrary answer? We've seen like five B's. So let's check B out and let's see how it goes. Yeah, that's the answer. And this is the reason. The user has reported that something memorable has occurred. Although at this point, it isn't clear what it might be. For example, whether it's normal occurrence or something that poses an adverse impact. So the best description is an event because it has not really occurred. You are trying to break in, but they are not in yet. So that's an event. So you are working in your organization security office. You receive a call from a user who has tried to log in to the network several times using the correct credential with no success. They are not the same thing. After a brief investigation, you determine that the user's account has been compromised. This is an example of what? B. B. If you have one. B. B also. B. People online. What are you guys saying? So let's go for B then. So the user's report and the subsequent identification of the failure constitute to incident detection. Because the user has detected that something is wrong, something is going on. So it's like that. So the third one, an external entity has tried to gain access to your organization's IT environment without proper authorization. This is an example of A or and what? I think it's straightforward. So the fourth one, when responding to a security incident, your team determines that the vulnerability exploited is not widely known to the security community, and there are no currently known definition or listing in common vulnerability database or collections. This vulnerability and exploit might be called what? So, I think this is straightforward too. So a zero-day exploit is an attack using a vulnerability that was not widely known in the industry at the time of discovery. So who is responsible for creating the organization's business continuity plan? Who's responsible? Who's responsible? Who is responsible for creating the organization's business continuity plan? We have, we have D, human resources. Mary and Tolu, one of you should unmute and tell us the reason why. Just unmute your mic and talk. Mary or Tolu, Victor. Unmute, we are waiting for you. Let me help you. Let's move on then. What's the answer? B. B. What's the answer? D. Why did you choose D? Why HR? Why did you choose B? Why is smart medicine? So let's check it out. So, because we listed all of the people that are going to be involved, each department will have their own incident response plan. So members from across the organization are responsible in creating the business continuity plan to ensure that all system processes and operation are accounted for. Because people in finance know what is critical to them, what they want to protect. So they will not be the ones to be like, okay, this is our critical assets. Right? So they will not develop business continuity plan relating to their own assets. So you get. So number 6, An organization's business continuity effort is a way to ensure which critical functions are maintained during a disaster, emergency, or interruption to the production environment. Number 6. What's the answer? What happened? An organization business continuity effort is a way to ensure which critical functions are maintained during the disaster. So emergency or interruption of the production environment. I think they made a mistake. Okay, maybe you should use which. Explain more. Go back to number 5 paper. So what's the answer now? Financial. What's the answer? You have D already. I think someone from online choose one also. We have D, we have B. You have D, we have B. Let me take it. You know, you've used more than 1 minute in the exam. That means you are using another question time. Already. 1 minute for one question. What's the answer? We have B, we have D. B, we have B already. A. Since we have more B's, let's go for B. So they really want to actually responsible for the answer. Who's from? We have another P. So people that choose A should actually collect money from people that choose B. That misled them. So let's see the reason why. Because the business continuity effort is designed to ensure critical business function continue during the period of potential interruption. If you go back to the question, which organization business continuity effort is a way to ensure which critical functions are maintained during the disaster, emergency of interruption, or interruption to the production environment. So it's business because they own or they house the most critical asset to that organization. So it cannot be technical. Not all critical functions are technical in nature. It cannot be IT, not critical functions are in the IT environment. It cannot be financial because not all critical functions are associated with financial matters. But business continuity, like core business, yeah, the house, the most critical part of the organization. So number 7, which of the following is likely to be used in a disaster recovery efforts? Which of the following is likely to be used in a disaster recovery efforts? Henceforth, when you pick an answer, you tell us the reason why you're picking it. Yeah. You don't want to guess. Okay. Yeah, no, let's go. What's the answer? Same thing. The answer. The answer. What's the answer? Answer. You have data backup, data backup. Any contrary answer? You have something else. Data backup. Why data backup? Anybody can talk. Why data backup? Yeah, no. Why data backup? Why? Why data backup? I know the reason why you choose data backup is so that I will not call you to explain. So why? So that means we should go for B. I think it's straightforward. So which of the following is often associated with disaster recovery planning? You have checklist, firewalls, motion detector, non-remediation. Which one of these? Okay. Simple. Checklist. Are we all going for checklist? Straightforward. So it's checklist. So number 9, A. Yeah, A. It's checklist. Number 9. Which of these activities is often associated with disaster recovery efforts? Employees returning to the primary production location, running anti-malware solutions, scanning the IT environment for vulnerability, zero-day exploits. So, which one is the answer? Disaster recovery efforts. What's the answer? It's straightforward. Yeah, very straightforward. What's the answer? A. Let's see. A. We have A already. We have someone picked A already. So what are we picking? A. A. I don't know why. I don't know why this actually take long. Why? Why is it kind of like complicated? So let's go for A. So it cannot be 0 day for someone that actually put 0 day because I think we explained the 0 day not quite long. So this is the 0 day experts. So, so number 10, what is meant by disaster recovery? What do we mean by disaster recovery? What is meant by disaster recovery? So what's the answer? So you have C. Don't choose C and C. D. Why C? Why C? Why? That's disaster recovery. Choose D. Why D? Even if that's the answer, I'll not even like that explanation doesn't actually make it the answer. Disaster recovery from the term, you can actually get the answer. It's normal English. So let's see, let's go for D. Since we have more D. That's the answer, but I will not give you because of that explanation. Because of the IT is there. So disaster recovery refers to specifically to restore the information technology and communication services and system needed by an organization both during the period of disruption and during restoration. It's just to restore. So you can restore anything. So we actually got 9 and missed 1. Still good. So check the terms out yourself. No, no, can we still actually put the registration today? I think the link has been sent to the group. Cybersecurity group. For people that are in the group should see the listen. Send the link. Okay. Yeah, in already. So let's just okay for okay. Let me see that. Just send it to you. So, so this is what you see. So your first name, your last name, email, phone number. I think this will be your show. Signed. Then an email will be sent to your account. So I think we just follow the steps like this. We can actually follow the steps. there's any issue while trying to register. After the registration, you have access to this material.